What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including, is Asuka out of Mania? Tragic news regarding Becky Lynch. Andrade requests his release from the WWE and quits. An explosive rumor regarding Wrestlemania. WWE needs Jon Moxley, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now, unfortunately, we start off today's video with some tragic news as Becky Lynch's father passes away. A sad news coming in regarding Becky Lynch as the wrestling world has learned that Becky Lynch's father had just passed away. Lynch, who has been out on maternity leave, posted the news to Instagram along with a tearful tribute to her father. Becky praised her dad for always encouraging her and cultivating her love of books, writing, theatre, movies and life. Now, there were no details mentioned on the cause of death, so please don't ask in the comments down below, but we extend our heartfelt condolences to Becky Lynch, her family and friends. Now, there seems to be some breaking news as Ringside News has exclusively reported that Andrade has asked his release from the company. They went on to mention in their article, a tenured member of WWE's backstage staff has confirmed this news to us, but it's not known if the release was granted at this time. It was noted that Vince might make him wait. Now, there have been rumors cropping up ever since Andrade distanced himself on social media by not including WWE in his Twitter handle. It's pretty surprising that WWE hasn't used Andrade. Well, first because he's an incredible talent, and number two is that he has some pulling power since his fiancée is Charlotte Flair. Now, everybody knows it's a power game backstage in the WWE, and sometimes it's not what you know, but who you know. If Andrade's release does get approved by WWE, where do you think that he'll end up? My guess, probably back to Mexico, but since he's engaged to Charlotte Flair, that might not be a good move. What do you guys think of Andrade putting in his request for release? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Asuka's Wrestlemania status in jeopardy? Is Raw Women's Champion Asuka out of Wrestlemania? Well, that's the question the WWE is asking as it prepares for this year's Showcase of the Immortals. According to this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, Asuka is out with a concussion from the kick by Shayna Baszler. The problem with a concussion is that she could be fine next week or she could not be cleared for a long time, and you never know. There's enough time left that she'll probably be back for Mania, but that's not a sure thing. It's tough because they counted on Ric Flair weekly for Raw through Mania, and now Charlotte Flair's second Mania direction has a chance of also being in jeopardy. You may recall that rumor has it Asuka was supposed to drop the title to Lacey Evans at Elimination Chamber, only for plans to go sideways when Evans learned she was pregnant in real life. Now the WWE may have to change its plans again, and while it has options such as a tournament or a match between two #1 contenders, Charlotte Flair is the only established star on the Red brand. Looks like WWE shot themselves in the foot, as they've repeatedly failed in promoting other stars on Raw, whether it's Peyton Royce, Mandy Rose or Shayna Baszler, whose only push has been in the tag team division. While it's unknown how any of these women might fare, they haven't been given a chance, and now the WWE is likely hoping the Empress of Tomorrow will be cleared for competition. Next up, plans scrapped for WrestleMania 37? As we've seen, at least one planned WrestleMania bout is up in the air, and fans are wondering what to believe about recent rumors that Vince McMahon told his minions in creative to shake up the WrestleMania card due to leaks about potential matches. You may recall us reporting Mr. McMahon was reportedly furious when he saw the plans for Edge vs Roman Reigns leaked before the match was officially announced, with talks of changing up the card. These rumors have continued, but now there's evidence the card is beginning to solidify. First, let's hear what Ringside News' Steve Carrier has to say about Mania being shaken up. We've asked around about WWE blowing up the Mania card and starting from scratch. We're told that's not true as of this week. While it's on a need-to-know basis, the card is definitely finalized and Vince McMahon did so this week. In addition to his comments, this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter notes, the key matches at WrestleMania appear to be a lock, with Roman Reigns vs Edge for the Universal title, Bobby Lashley vs Drew McIntyre for the WWE title, Randy Orton vs The Fiend in some kind of a gimmick match, Braun Strowman vs Shane McMahon, Sasha Banks vs Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's title, all either announced or a clear direction. Dave Meltzer also commented on another likely match. Nothing has been done in recent weeks with Miz and John Morrison versus Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, but that's because Miz has been busy getting Lashley ready for his main event and Bunny is getting ready for his performance on the Grammy Awards on 14th April. Naturally, injuries can lead to a change in the card, just remember Wrestlemania 32, but with Mania fast approaching, Vince McMahon needs to finalize the top matches at this year's show of shows, as it's more important than ever. Not only is this the WWE's first Mania on the Peacock streaming service, but it will also be the first show in front of live fans since 2020's Elimination Chamber, where reportedly WWE is trying to gather 45,000 fans in attendance over the separate 2 nights. While Vinnie Mac will likely change up the undercard for weeks, he'll want a strong foundation for 2 nights of shows. Next up, a wild rumor: is the WWE going to blow up Randy Orton and The Fiend? A curious comment coming from this week's Observer, as Dave Meltzer is speculating on what type of gimmick match fans could see between The Fiend and Randy Orton. An interesting thought for Orton versus The Fiend. The one thing we've pretty much learned loud and clear is that an explosive match, and you don't need barbed wire or blood for it if Vince is against that sort of thing, is a draw in 2021. Initial numbers suggest that Revolution was a smash success despite the mangled main event, with the barbed wire exploding deathmatch proving a big draw. Meltzer observed that the WWE likely doesn't have to worry about fans calling them copycats, because the vast majority of WWE fans don't watch AEW or are even aware much of what happens in AEW, so it's still the first time and we've seen full-blown it's a draw. They could show up AEW and all if the explosion at the end is spectacular, which really isn't what it's about, but simply that there are so few things proven today so really move numbers, and this was proven just this past week to do so. Yes, it would seem copying, but if they pull it off and the explosions work, it would not have the negative of outright copying, but instead the aura of doing it better. WWE has an excellent track record when it comes to its special effects matches, and it could easily pull off the exploding ring by making it a cinematic match, pre-taping it in order to guarantee the explosion isn't a dud like AEW's. AEW should have prepared better for their exploding ring and could have easily pre-taped the match. But what do you think of the WWE doing an exploding ring match? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Paul Wight criticizes WWE. During his chat with Renee Young, Wight analyzes the current WWE product. I don't care if this pisses people off or not, but I'm gonna say it. You need competition that's not in the same house. You need another brand, where if someone doesn't find out who they are on one brand, there is still another company where they can reinvent themselves and try again. I think that's the problem when the WWE was the only game in town. Sure, you had all the talent, sure you had this great plethora of talent to work with. I think that's one of the problems that WWE has now, is because they have so much talent that they can't really maximize on all that talent. The WWE has grown complacent over the last 2 decades, and given the company's financial success, it's unlikely Vince McMahon sees any reason to change the way he does business. While ratings may continue to decline, the WWE continues to sign rights deals with a variety of companies, including some lucrative international deals. Next up, Murphy's Meltdown. Add Buddy Murphy to the list of WWE superstars taking to social media to voice their frustrations about how they're being pushed. Murphy recently tweeted, 3 years ago today, I debuted on 205 Live. It sparked my passion for wrestling again after I lost it. What's going to be my 205 in 2021? It looks like the WWE is also using social media to explain Murphy's apparent heel turn last week on SmackDown when he offered to help Seth Rollins beat up Cesaro, although Rollins dismissed Murphy's offer. Let's point out the obvious. The Mysterios used me. I never needed them. I'm beyond one of the most talented in-ring performers on the planet. Alia used me to be on television and advance an acting career. Dominic used me, so he had a reason to stand ringside. Ray was jealous that I became the new face of the Cruiserweight, and he was left out of the discussion. They took what they wanted, and then they left me in the shadows. Sounds like my time in NXT. Now it's refreshing to see the WWE making some effort to explain Murphy's change of heart on the Blue brand. Well, they could have if they just didn't delete the comment afterwards. But do you think Murphy is being underutilized, and should he join forces with Seth Rollins again? Let us know in the comments down below. And finally, WWE needs Jon Moxley's help. And last but not least, we have another example of the tricky trademark process, as the WWE is currently being blockaded in its attempt to trademark Dean Ambrose. A recent report by Heel by Nature revealed, Last October, WWE filed a new application for the name Dean Ambrose under the Entertainment Services classification, namely wrestling exhibitions and performances by a professional wrestler. The filing is likely to maintain ownership of the IP associated with the character. The site reports that the WWE failed in its application for failing to identify whether Dean Ambrose is an actual person or a stage name. While Ambrose is a character, the US Patent and Trademark Offices requires Jonathan Good's aka Dean Ambrose aka John Moxley's written consent, even for someone trademarking a stage name. Now, this isn't the first time the WWE has run into this problem, as the federal government requires consent as long as the person is alive. But there you have it, folks, the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.